My name is Robert Chen. I'm 77 years old, and I'm wearing my father's watch. It's a simple Timex, nothing special really, just stainless steel and worn leather.
Probably worth less than $50, but I've worn it every day for the past 32 years, since the morning after his funeral. It's strange how objects hold time differently than we do. This watch has marked every second since 1965, when my mother gave it to him for their 20th anniversary. I remember watching him open the box at our kitchen table. The way his eyes softened when he saw it. He wasn't a man who showed much emotion, my father, but that morning, his hands trembled slightly as he fastened the band around his wrist. I was 16 then, already certain I knew everything about the world, about him. I saw him as most sons see their fathers at that age, as a collection of rules and restrictions, of silences and disappointed sighs. He worked 6 days a week at his small accounting firm, came home exactly at 6:15 every evening, ate dinner in his chair by the window, and read his newspaper in silence. The watch would tick away those evening hours while I sat across from him, desperate to be anywhere else, convinced he couldn't possibly understand the dreams I had, the life I wanted to live. I was going to be different. I was going to see the world, make my mark, live boldly. I wasn't going to be like him, counting other people's money in a tiny office, measuring life in 15-minute increments. I left for college in '67, and then graduate school, then a job in Chicago. I'd come home for holidays, sitting in that same chair across from him, both of us armed with newspapers like shields. We'd exchange pleasantries about work, about the weather, about nothing at all, really, all while his watch kept ticking, marking time we couldn't get back. I remember the last Christmas I spent with him, 1991. I was showing him pictures of my new corner office, telling him about my recent promotion. He nodded, smiled politely, asked appropriate questions, but there was something in his eyes I didn't understand then, something I can only recognize now because I see it in my own reflection. 3 months later, my mother called. They found him in his office, slumped over his desk, heart attack, quick and quiet, just like him. When I arrived home, his watch was sitting on his nightstand, still ticking. Mother said he'd taken it off the night before, something he never did. It wasn't until I was cleaning out his office that I found the box. Hidden in his bottom drawer, beneath decades of tax returns, were hundreds of newspaper clippings. Every article I'd ever written for the school paper, every mention of my name in the business section, college graduation photos, Christmas cards, birthday cards I'd sent out of obligation, and a letter never sent, written the day I left for college.
The letter was written in his precise accountant's hand. "My son," it began, "I want you to know how proud I am of your dreams. I see your fire, your determination to make your mark. You remind me so much of myself at your age." He went on to describe how he'd once dreamed of being a writer, how he'd filled notebooks with stories in his youth. But then came the war and marriage and children and responsibility. He took the accounting job to give us stability, worked those long hours so I could have the chances he never did. "I know you think I don't understand," he wrote, "but I see myself in your restlessness, in your desire to break free, and I want you to. I want you to chase every dream, to never settle for counting minutes like I did. My greatest achievement isn't the money I've saved or the clients I've helped. It's giving you the freedom to choose your own path."
All those years, I thought his silence was disapproval. I thought his quiet life was a cautionary tale. But sitting here now, wearing his watch, I finally understand what real courage looks like. Sometimes it's not in the bold gestures or the grand adventures. Sometimes it's in the quiet sacrifice of one dream to give life to another. Every tick of this watch reminds me of all the words we never shared, the conversations we could have had if either of us had been brave enough to break through our wall of silence. Now I find myself doing the same dance with my own son, watching him pull away, believing I couldn't possibly understand understand his dreams. Maybe that's why I'm recording this now, because time keeps moving, keeps ticking away in measured beats, and I don't want to leave another unread letter in a drawer. I don't want another generation to learn too late that love sometimes speaks in the language of sacrifice, in the quiet spaces between the seconds. If you're listening to this, maybe you have your own version of this watch, some ordinary object that carries the weight of unspoken words. Maybe it's not too late to break the silence, to bridge the gap between what we show and what we feel. Because in the end, that's all we really have. These moments, these chances, these tiny windows of time marked out in heartbeats and watch ticks. The sun is rising now, another day beginning, another chance to speak.